Hi, this is a short story I wrote called Home Truths. It's about a young couple in the process of selling their house. However, their baby, daughter, and their cat seem to have other ideas. Alan stared out the window at the for sale sign in the front garden and took a deep breath. He was standing in the living room holding his 1-year-old daughter. He sniffed the air and pulled a face of disgust. Ugh! Time for a new nappy, young Pippa. He checked the clock on the mantelpiece. Still 10 minutes before the viewers arrived. With their house for sale, Alan and his wife, Jane, had got used to having to tidy the place up for the benefit of strangers, continually interrupting their privacy. Let's go and change you quickly, and then we'll tidy up, ready for our visitors. But Pippa didn't seem keen on this plan, and as soon as Alan moved, she shrieked as if being viciously tortured. "Babby! Babby! Babby!" she screamed, and Alan sighed as he realised that she wanted her favourite teddy. Scanning the room rapidly, he spotted Babby's fluffy bare legs poking from underneath an upturned walker that had perpetually flashing lights. With Pippa gripped tightly in his right arm lock, he carefully picked his way through the debris of scattered toys and, slowly bending his legs, got low enough to reach Babby's foot with the fingertips of his left hand. Alan tugged it sharply, setting off the infuriating music produced by the walker. An American woman's voice sang the alphabet at top volume. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, ending with X, Y, and Z. Pippa now clutched Babby and quietened down, so Alan carefully headed towards the door, catching another whiff of the contents of Pippa's nappy. Ooh. And then the doorbell rang. Ding dong! Oh, flippin' heck. The viewers and the estate agent were early. There'd be no time to change Pippa now. He'd have to risk it and hope the smell didn't prove too off-putting. And while the estate agent showed the visitors round, he could nip off and change her with no harm done. But just as he reached out to open the front door, a horrible and familiar noise made him turn round just in time to see their grey cat vomiting behind him on the hall carpet. The doorbell rang again for slightly longer. "Smokey, stop it! Get outside!" And in a panic, he jumped over the puking pet and rushed into the kitchen and, still holding Pippa, he used his free hand to unlock and open the back door before returning to the hall to poke the still retching cat with his foot. Without actually kicking her, Alan guided Smokey forcefully with his slipper. The cat slid onto the kitchen lino but refused to go outside. Instead, the cat nonchalantly doubled back, hopped over Alan's foot, slunk out of the kitchen and into the living room, where he curled up on the sofa, licking himself as if proud of his morning's work. Alan panicked as the doorbell rang for the third time. He had to answer it now. Looking down at the cat's furball, he grabbed a tea towel and got on his knees, grateful that Pippa was being so good. And with a swift movement, he scooped it up, folded over the cloth, and he flung the whole lot in the kitchen bin. And running to the front door, he hauled it open just in time to see 3 figures closing the gate and about to walk off. "So sorry," Alan called out. It's just that, sorry." The estate agent looked relieved. "Ah, Alan, this is Mr. and Mrs. Lake." Normally he would have shaken their hands, but he could hear the cat being sick again in the living room. "Oh no," Alan groaned through gritted teeth. The estate agent frowned questioningly. Alan acted quickly. Would you mind just waiting there for a minute? Sorry, I mean, come in, that's it. But could you just, I'll be right back." Setting Pippa down by her toy box, Alan saw Smokey clawing the curtains by the French windows, so he scampered across, unlocking the sliding door, and firmly pushed the cat outside and relocked the door. He couldn't see any vomit on the floor, so that was a relief. Just as Pippa began to cry, Alan realised that Mr. and Mrs. Lake had followed the estate agent into the living room. This room has potential, said Mr. Lake. Such a shame the present owners are so messy. Oh dear, said Mrs. Lake. I don't like that wallpaper, and that will have to go. How horrible. The garden needs a lot of work too. Oh, the state it's in, I'm surprised the property is priced at such a high cost. It'll take months to get rid of that ghastly smell. The couple stared at him accusingly, and the estate agent looked embarrassed, while Pippa grinned and held out her arms for a daddy hug. As Alan picked up his daughter, the unpleasant odour rose again to his nose. Please excuse me while I go and change her nappy. You carry on down here, and I'll be back to answer any questions. Alan felt calm again. Please, make yourselves at home. As he went upstairs, he heard Mrs. Lake comment about the kitchen's lack of hygiene. Probably infested with cockroaches. Alan changed Pippa's nappy quickly, and as he did so, he sang some nursery rhymes and he chattered the usual nonsense that made her smile so beautifully. What a lovely girl. And with that, he blew a raspberry on her tummy. That must feel better. Now let's go downstairs and see those silly people. They are silly billies, aren't they? Arriving so early, curly, whirly, squiggly, squirly. And he lifted her up and rubbed his nose against hers. Aren't they silly? Such silly billies. And her face broke into a smile that always set his heart racing. Can you say silly billies? He tickled her and watched her squirm. Old grumpy frumps, aren't they? Moany old phonies. Yes, they are. Whingy cringies. Can you say moany, groany, grumpy, frumpy, whingy, cringy snobs? Yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. And he made pouty faces at her, watching the delight in her eyes. And then he stood up, muttering between gritted teeth. So, let's hope they bog off soon, eh? Alan kissed her, swung her up in his arms and descended the stairs. Halfway down, he heard the mechanical voice singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He spoke as he entered the room. Would you like to see upstairs now? But Alan wasn't prepared for what he saw. Mrs. Lake was lying on the floor with her husband holding her hand. She'd clearly tripped over some toys in the middle of the carpet. Even worse, the estate agent had found some baby wipes and was rubbing Mrs. Lake's sleeve and hand. She looked up at Alan, shaking her head sorrowfully. We found the cat's vomit. It was on the sofa. Mr. Lake looked up squarely into Alan's eyes. I've never been so insulted in all my life. You obviously have no respect for guests and never clean this house. It's a disgrace. Alan panicked again. I thought you might like to see what we've done with our bathroom. No, thank you, Mr. Bloom. I wouldn't want to live in this pigsty. We have other, better properties to view. Mr. Lake eventually got his wife to her feet. Mrs. Lake turned angrily to Alan. I should tell you, Mr. Bloom, that you might like to turn off your baby monitor. We could hear every word that you said upstairs. Sorry that you think we're such silly billies and that we arrived so early, curly, whirly. I guess we'll all just have to, bog off now, won't we? Goodbye. And with that, they left the house, got into their car and drove off. The estate agent looked up, red-faced. You might be right about them being whingy, cringy snobs, though. I'll be in touch with you and your wife. Bye. Alan slumped back into the living room and put a giggling Pippa down to play with her toys. I guess they won't be buying this place then. Seeing Pippa open a book with a teddy and cry out, Babby! Made him grin and glow with pride. What a silly Billy, eh? A moany, groany, phony loner. Pippa gave him a huge grin as a reward for his little rhyme. Just then the phone rang. To his utter relief, it was his wife, Jane, phoning from work. Hiya! How's Pippa? Hi. Yeah, she's fine. Have the people been yet? Oh yes, they've definitely been. What? Have they put in an offer? No, most certainly not, Alan laughed, wondering how he could begin to explain. Alan, I've been thinking, Jane began. Yes? I've changed my mind again. What about? About moving. Don't get angry with me, Al, but I think I'd really like to stay where we are. Okay. Are you annoyed? She asked uncertainly. No, Alan replied. In fact, I think you're right. You do? Yep, said Alan, as he watched Pippa cuddle her favourite bear. I only went along with the idea because you seemed so excited about having a fresh start. Really? Jane sounded surprised. I only agreed because you seemed so keen. Me? I never really wanted to. It's too much hassle, it's so expensive. My thoughts exactly. So that's agreed then. Right. Sorted. Yeah. Well, I'll see you later then. Bye. Love you. Love you. Replacing the handset, Alan chuckled to himself. Pippa ran up, putting her arms out for a daddy hug. Silly Billy! Silly Billy! And he couldn't help feeling that Pippa and Smokey had been conspiring against them the whole time. He picked her up and felt just then that he never wanted to let her go. The end.